Great.
then
So
I suggest
now we
you
have...
run.
Do I
Okay,
know
so-
where the door is supposed to be?
The mages are blind.
Sadly, the mansion seems to be messing with your perception of coordination and spacing. You have no idea where the doors are or where the windows are, and even if you know where you're looking, there's absolutely nothing.
Vendrik, what will happen if someone wears a ring?
It draws their power on itself as a shield against the light.
Against the light?
Rings
So we wouldn't do
weren't
anything
formed to
against
fight vampires.
So we wouldn't do anything against monsters made out of shadows?
If you can't get us out of here, I'd say use it as a weapon. It might be able to absorb their
You're
essence.
quickly getting surrounded, by the way.
Wait, I'm getting surrounded.
Everybody's getting surrounded.
Okay.
Together, so I'm just saying that you got surrounded.
Wait,
I'm asking Gio if he knows anything of what to do.
how?
Yeah,
These
How would the
creatures are
ring be-
incredibly weak. We can hold them at bay. Sadly, however, there doesn't seem to be an end to them. Since we're trapped, might I suggest that we find the person who is making these things appear?
Well, isn't that just splendid? How are you going to do that? You don't think? Wait, do I know where the staircase is?
Yes, you just came down from it. The staircase is still there.
Right then. Well, I suppose we're going up again. And Alyssia holds out a hand so you can grab onto it. I assuming you're, dropping your invisibility.
Yeah, at this point, there's no point.
Yeah. So, well, in that case, Alyssa's literally running back up the stairs.
still gonna
And
hold your
assuming you're
hand just
keeping
because I can't see shit. Oh, so
Well,
Yeah,
Alyssia
neither
holds
of
out
us
her
can
hand so
see
you can grab
shit.
her. Grab him.
that's what
No.
I mean.
Yeah, but we cannot see you holding out your hand.
Right.
both
As you
blind.
guys
That's-
start making your way towards the staircase, you hear a lot of chaos and ungodly screams as these creatures immediately go into a frenzy, starting to chase you up the stairs. Alyssia, you're first, and as soon as you make halfway across the staircase, you see that arms start bursting from the stairs and start grabbing at your feet.
Well, I'm gonna be using the torch as like basically a brand, holding it out in front of me and hurling insults at them in demonic to try and back the fuck away.
So you're attacking it with a torch, right?
Yeah, I'm literally like waving it in front of me, trying to bat them out of the way of the door.
By the time you manage to clear the door, the other creatures that were pursuing you managed to catch up. So who's gonna stand in their way to intercept them?
I will.
As you
Really?
do that, Gio
Oh, yes.
once again pops up and creates a giant mirror wall. The shades that are attacking you immediately lock eyes with their reflections and start getting sucked in. My darling, I don't think I have enough strength to consume all of them. Might I suggest we hurry?
I'm gonna turn back to them and yell, "Hurry up! We can't do this much longer."
Is the door still a shadowy
The
goo
door
thing?
is now revealed, but it's clearly locked. You can use brute force if you want to smash it.
Yeah, I was about to say, fuck that. I'm gonna fight. Okay, how
Yeah, I was
sturdy
about to
does
say,
the door need
'cause
to be?
It's your job to take the door. I'm making sure they don't materialize around it again.
But how sturdy is the door?
The door doesn't look that particularly sturdy. A good shoulder's probably gonna get it down.
Well, in that case, Alyssa's just fucking tackling the door.
Roll me strength.
Can I roll athletics instead?
Oh, actually, yeah, roll me athletics. Yeah.
Great, because strength sucks. Wow.
Victory!
Alyssia, you
What the fuck?
obliterate that goddamn door.
It's the
So
panic.
finally, good job, Alyssia. You did something, right?
Why the fuck did I roll 20 on that?
Because you were panicking. You're just like,
Fuck's
"Fuck
sake."
this!" and just demolish the door into splinters.
I'd just like to point out that she has 8 strength. God damn it. The fuck was that?
Say that like
That was
Vendrik's
some
any
very
stronger.
pissed off customers. Alyssia, you ram your shoulder so hard into that door that you may have dislocated something, you don't know. You're under so much adrenaline that you honestly can't tell. The door doesn't so much open as it literally is flown off its hinges and slammed across the room. Honestly, from outside, Iris and Theron, all you see is a smashed window and a door flying through it. That's how hard Alyssia worked on that door.
Looking up, it's like, well, stealth guns out. How about we go through that window? Seems like stealth has ended.
You know, this is a moment in Shadow where people that go like, "Oh, we just went loud."
As this happens,
I should
Gio's
hope this
magic
isn't Shadowrun.
shatters and the mirror he created disappears. You guys quickly enter the room, and as you do, you see that the dark shadows begin to fade and everything goes back to normal inside the mansion. You are inside the bedroom. There's nobody in the bed and nobody around. The shadows
Really?
are gone.
Let's leave.
Yeah, let's get the fuck out of here as quickly as possible.
You said a door flew through a window, right?
Just like in wait, okay, there's no one in the room, there's no one in the bed, right?
Yeah, as far as you can tell. But now that there's light coming in, you are momentarily blind as your eyes are, you know, getting accustomed to the sudden return of the light. As you guys stand there in the room wondering what's going on, suddenly you hear a voice that's similar to telepathy. It seems like the voice is coming from a distorted location. You can't really pinpoint where it's coming from. So, after breaking into my mansion and stealing from me, I don't suppose you would be willing to discuss this.
I'll respond back in demonic with that depends what you've got to say.
Wait, did it speak demonic?
No, it's spoken common.
Yeah,
Whatever
but
it was.
I'm gonna respond back in that. And if he understands me, then, well,
Well, he definitely understands you.
definitely
You get that
understands.
feeling.
I just want him to confirm it to me.
You hear a clicking sound and the bed starts to move. There seems to be some kind of hidden compartment under the bed.
I figured there'd be a
And there's a coffin there, right?
Yep, there's a coffin there.
Oh, of
full
course there is.
With a lot of dirt. And from the dirt, a man gingerly starts making his way out, looking rather displeased.
I have my hood up.
Oh, by the way, since we're still connected by her spell, I'm going to think to the rest of them. Edge round when I give the signal, jump out of the window.
This man plops out of the coffin. Despite him being covered in dirt while in the coffin, you see that when he pops out, he is in pristine condition. None of his clothes are not dirty at all. You notice some features are that his face looks like it was chewed out, carrying a lot of scars. And he also is missing a leg.
Just quick question: do we well, I assume remember the name of this duke if it was ever spoken?
Yes, his name is Cedric Bemon.
Oh, Duke Bemon, I presume.
That would be correct.
I do apologize for the disturbance. This wasn't exactly what I had in mind.
Oh? What exactly did you have in mind before deciding to break into my mansion?
Well, for one, not to get caught.
I would assume as much.
And of course...
Let's drop the pleasantries. What do you want? To keep my secret.
Alyssia produces the ring. Well, simply put, part of it is that this ring seems to be rather valuable.
Not to your kind, no.
Well, evidently not, since it seems to be do something completely different from what we expected.
Yes, I sense that somebody read the ring. I assumed at that point you discovered my identity. We have a problem.
I'm sure we can discuss.
No offense, but I can't exactly feel the urge to trust you, considering what you've done. Then again, if you leave here alive, that means that I'm screwed, so I guess I have no choice but to trust you.
Wait,
By the
what?
way, can I be climbing through the window by this point?
Wait.
This guy is literally outed out as a vampire inside a human settlement. If anybody learns about his real
Yeah, he's
identity,
fucked.
they're gonna straight up murder him.
Yeah, but like, but if like the what? Okay, I'm
I think
confused because
basically
what
what
he
he's
said
saying-
basically sounded like you know, he would like it would be better for him to let us go, which makes no sense because it would be beneficial for him to kill us.
Basically, because you guys figured out his identity, he's kind of put in a bind. Like, he doesn't want to trust you because you literally broke into his mansion, and you said we can probably work out a deal, but he doesn't want to trust you because of what you did. But he honestly doesn't have a choice, because clearly trying to kill you failed, so
Yeah,
either
plus,
he trusts you,
it's
or
not
he
even
needs
about
to make
trying
room
to
for it
kill us.
immediately.
He has to try and kill us quickly enough that not a single one of us can get the message outside, and he already knows 2 of us are mages. I said, tell me about the war, but in a much more cheerful voice.
The war? Wait, you can actually decipher the story of the ring?
Well, parts
Right.
of it was rather dark and we were in a rush, but yes.
Thieves you may be, but apparently you're not just common rat folk.
By the way, he was going to climb through a window at that point, and she's like hanging. Half of her body's hanging through it, like her arms, and goes, "What war? What happened? Oh, you guys fucked up." Like she's looking at Duke.
By the way, since Theron's the only one outside, Theron, you notice that somebody is walking down the street and making their way to the mansion. Their intent is clearly to walk inside.
What do they look like?
You actually recognize them because you met this person about 2 days ago in the forest. It was a demon that you gave directions to the city.
Oh.
Well, you assume it's a demon. You never actually asked. You just assumed it's a demon. It's a maid.
I mean,
Is
it
who?
was pretty
A maid.
obvious. It's the maid that we gave directions to.
Yeah, about to say, I'm gonna hold out my my arm. Deal?
Wait, which fucking maid?
The maid, you weren't here.
He
Weren't there.
wasn't there. Don't worry, you'll probably spot her very soon. Since, you know, she's coming here.
Yeah, I'll hold out my arm and go, have we got a deal?
So, your conditions are that you want a copy of my ring so you can use my connections, and you wish to know more about the war of my people from the past. Is that correct? A long time ago, probably older than any of you monkeys have been around. We used to be in a great war against Lycans. You would more commonly know them as werewolves, even though most of the race is extinct nowadays. The war was not going in my people's favor. That's when I created this ring, and it turned the war instantly in our favor. The end. He's obviously skipping a lot of details, as you can imagine.
Well, I'm assuming that if you could hunt them in the daylight, that would most certainly be to your favor.
Now, is there anything else?
I feel rather hard done by that.
Well,
What? By the way, as you say that, Vendrik, he again looks at you very displeased and says, what? Do you have the urge to kill me and read my soul instead?
Well, no, I'd hope you just honor the deal.
As I said, I've risked too much to be discovered now. I wish to keep my identity a secret. As long as you honor that, we will have no problems.
Good. You don't have to talk about your identity. Tell me about how it started.
What, the war?
Yes.
The war was going on for even before I was born. It's difficult to put into a time frame considering we live almost eternally.
What do the legends say?
Well, originally it seems like we had similar predecessors, but with time we had our differences. You know what differences are. I've seen it plenty of times. I mean, it's happening right now, isn't it? The people of the North, from my perspective, they're also humans, and yet you from the main continent treat them like animals. It's pretty much the same for us. One day, we simply couldn't look at each other. We started whispering behind our backs. We saw ourselves as different. And eventually that led to racism and conflict. Pretty predictable, isn't it?
Very human.
As you say that, he looks incredibly displeased.
Oh, please, I meant no disrespect. I'm merely voicing the fact that it seems to be something that occurs among many people. Or many different kinds of people.
Even me and my love were not spared from their disgusting... Never mind.
I don't want to go into
Actually,
detail about yourself. What about the Lycans then? They do.
What do you wish to
What
know
are their
about them?
weaknesses? Tell me everything. How do you kill them?
Very difficult. No matter what you do to them, they regenerate almost instantly from any wound. Decapitation does nothing. Mincing them into meat does nothing. Their strength is incredibly fearsome. However, it is also incredibly limiting. During daylight, they are vulnerable, and that's why they couldn't stand up to us. Very few Lycans have actually been killed during the early stages of the war, because they always attacked at night. We didn't stand a chance against them in those times.
How did you kill the ones in?
Presumably they stabbed them when they were in human form.
We fought them endlessly for days until they eventually tired. We couldn't face them during the light, so we had to manipulate that. We used the day breaks to trap them in specific locations and make advantage of that during the night. Eventually, after a few days or weeks, the Lycans we fought in numbers would get tired. When they got tired, we captured. When we captured them, we split them into parts and buried them at different places all over the world so they couldn't regenerate. Technically, they were still alive, but there was nothing they could do about it. Once we found their weakness, thanks to the ring, we killed those that we buried.
Can we leave? It says as she's basically almost flopping through, like, out the window.
Suddenly you hear a knocking on the frame of the... well, where the missing door used to be, you know?
Alyssia spins around, hands on the swords.
Good evening. She bows politely and touches the hem of her skirt as she does a courteous bow. You see the maid that you met a few days earlier in the forest. I believe that your conversation was naturally coming to a conclusion, so I believe this is a good point for me to interject, if I may.
I'm going
okay.
to return her bow, and I'm going to say, "It's nice to see you again."
Thank you, my dear. You have been very useful in helping me get here, she says with a smile to you, Vira.
Wait up. Question. Does she seem threatening in any way?
I mean, you can straight up see how she looks. She
yes,
seems
but
to be very well mannered, so that's about it.
Yeah, but like, it's a fucking maid in the middle of the fucking night in a fucking mansion.
Do you want to roll perception?
Yes.
I mean, heads up, she's also got horns if you look closely.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, does she really have horns?
Yeah.
Yes, she does. Everything you see in the picture.
So it's bleedingly fucking obvious that this is a demon.
She has
Iris is just
a bird
dumb.
on her hand, and you see some kind
weirder.
of wing-like things on her back.
Fuck, like, hands on swords. Alyssia is fucking drawing the swords, ready for combat.
Wait, you're drawing your sword?
Sword, like, well, okay, well, no, actually, no, she's not drawing the swords, but she's like, she has the hands very obviously on the hilts of the swords. Her entire body tensioned as a spring.
She notices that you're keeping your hand on your hilt and says, "I am against violence."
You're also highly suspicious.
Flattery will get you nowhere, dear.
What is your purpose here?
I'm sorry, but I am not in liberty to say that. I have only business with the gentleman here. And she turns and bows again politely towards the master of the house, who apparently seems very unhappy to see her.
Duke, may I just assume you know her?
I don't know her, I know who she works for, and we're not friends.
Is she here to kill you?
Heavens no, the maid answers instead. My mistress simply sent me here to deliver a message and take the Duke with me, in good faith. And the Duke pipes up. She's probably here to kidnap me.
Of course she is.
I told your mistress last time, my debt to her is paid. She forced me to make the ring, and everything turned to shit. I'm not gonna work with her anymore. The maid seems rather saddened to hear that, but she doesn't reply with anything for now.
Might you enlighten us as to who she works for?
You see that the maid gives the Duke a stern look, so he says, for both our sake, I better not.
Vira's just gonna nod. I think it would be best if we left now.
Until next time.
Wait. I changed my mind. I do have some use for you.
I assumed as much.
Whatever this maid has come to ask me of, you handle it.
Oh.
Well, it depends entirely upon what she asks us to do.
The maid also seems rather confused when he says that. I believe that is highly unregular, and he just pipes up. Knowing who she works for, it's probably not that difficult, especially for people who have the goal to enter my mansion and cause all this mess. Do this for me, and I'll be more cooperative. He says that towards Alyssia and Vendrik, because he clearly sees that Alyssia is into connections and Vendrik is into information.
I do not think we should agree to anything before we hear out what the maid wants.
Agreed.
Well, that much is obvious. But still, I'm willing to work with anyone as long as I get paid.
So I'm going to turn to the maid and ask, well, now that we are under slightly different circumstances, what is it that you require?
Well, my mistress found herself in a bit of a, shall we say, predicament. There is a special event among her kind coming up, and she needs a representative. However, the man she had picked, shall we say, vanished under mysterious circumstances. So, she is in need of a new one, and unfortunately for both the master here and my mistress, it falls on him to answer the call. However, he doesn't need to do so personally. He can only do so in name. He can elect other people to take his place. I'm assuming that's why he is recruiting you? She looks towards him to confirm that. And he just nods.
So she needs out of character, she needs a date?
A representative for some kind of event.
And the guy says mysteriously. This is obviously a fighting ring.
Got killed, so she would have no representative.
Yeah.
By the way,
just out of curiosity, what kind of event are we talking about, and who was it that vanished? Unless that is privileged information, but seeing as he's vanished, he's probably dead.
Well, my dear, I am under no obligation to answer any further questions, even if I could. So, I'm afraid you have to direct those questions to your particular employer. I merely came here to do a job, and I would wish to have the confirmation of whether I'll be escorting the Duke back with me, or if you will be the ones to take his place.
Out of character, we do not have time for this.
That is a good question. How long will... When are you escorting us? Where are you escorting us? How long will it take? And how long will the meeting take?
Well, I'm assuming the trip will take no more than a week or two. As for the event itself, it's set to take place in 50 years.
In 50 years?
My apologies, but we simply do not have that kind of time.
I'll do it.
Well, that is not strictly true.
Yeah.
Do you require us to come with you right now?
I'll do it.
Guys, you're talking over each other.
Sorry. Do you require us to come with you right now?
Of course not. You have 50 years to prepare.
Oh,
So when do you need to escort us for the meeting?
Well, I can always escort you just before the event if you so wish.
that would be good.
I believe that that those terms are most likely agreeable. Question though, how will we contact you?
Oh, don't worry. I will merely come when the time is right.
I suppose then we can do that.
Wait, what does that mean exactly?
She's gonna come get us when 50 years pass. In 50 years, she's gonna come get us.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, okay, it's out of character. Like, weren't we gonna have a meeting? Apparently with whoever is gonna employ us before the event that is gonna be happening in 50 years.
Well, that's
Yeah.
not gonna take that long.
Yeah, the meeting won't take 50 years. We're gonna.
No, but like apparently the travel to the meeting we're gonna take like what, 3 days?
No, it's gonna take you a
like
week probably to get to where she needs to take you.
Yes, but we don't have to leave for 50 years.
Yeah, you literally have 50 years.
Yeah, but like,
it's
yeah,
if
no,
you're
like,
going
yeah,
or not.
That's my
I'm
point.
not sure why you're confused.
No, but my point was like, if she's gonna take us to a meeting before that, how the fuck would we contact her? And she's like, well,
She's gonna find
I'll
us.
appear when the time is right. What the fuck does that mean?
She's gonna like what she did with what she just did with the Duke arriving at his house. She's gonna appear for us in 50 years.
Hey, mate, I said I'll do it.
Very well then. In that case, the deal is struck. If I may have your seal of approval then, Duke. You see that the Duke bites on his finger to let a few drops of blood sprinkle his thumb. You see the maid reach out with a handkerchief to collect the few drops of blood. Very well. Since they're your representatives, if something goes awry, you will be the one paying the price for their mistake. With that, I bid you all a good night. She bows politely and quietly makes her leave. And you're left with the Duke.
Well, that was different.
And with that, I suppose we should be going as well. Well, not towards him,
before
guys.
you leave. I should probably give you some details. She said 50 years, but that's not human years.
Great.
So, how long is that in human years?
In human years, you probably have about 6 or 7 months.
Great.
How does that make any sense? Well, regardless.
Where we come from, we measure time differently than you. We don't measure it based on the rotations of planets and on the sun. We measure it in, well, it's complicated. And it's frankly a quite outdated system that I've never liked.
So, your years are essentially slightly longer than our months.
No, they're
Technically.
no.
They are
like,
significantly
No, wait,
quicker.
not months.
yeah,
they're
significantly quicker.
Yes.
There's you can fit almost 10 years in a month.
About
Yeah,
3
wait,
or
no,
4
yeah,
days,
I-
roughly.
Completely wrong. I actually meant days. I'm tired.
At any rate, since you've agreed to do this for me, I expect that you'll do a wonderful job. Killing is your specialty after all, right? He looks towards you, Alyssia.
Well, I assume that this was some sort of gladiatorial arrangement. Actually, I believe I know exactly a person that is perfect for this job in that case.
Would it happen to be the giant fellow outside my door?
Alyssia smiles at him sweetly. Oh, whatever do you mean, dear sir?
He looks displeased when you do that.
Well, if that's all, till next time. Finish off the story. And with that, I turn around and misty step away. Walking is for peasants.
I guess Vira's just gonna shimmy out the window.
Doesn't look as impressive.
Why are you going out the window?
Yes.
Because fuck you, that's why. No, I'm just gonna jump out the window and cast fly on myself and go to the ground.
Alyssia actually curtses to the Duke and then goes out the front door.
Like a normal human being.
Yes.
Wait, so
I was in the window to begin with.
One jumped out the window and the other one walked out normal.
By the way, Vira, I'm gonna say that as you jump out the window, because of the conditions, you fail to cast your magic. And
How?
Unfortunately...
How? What
I don't know,
conditions?
just a GM call. And unfortunately you fall on somebody. You get caught by the maid that was leaving. He plops you down gently on the ground and says, there you go, dear, be careful.
Thank you. Wait, but why couldn't
She's
I
much
cast
more
fly?
polite than before, apparently.
Because the DM said so.
I made a GM call there.
Why couldn't you? Because rule 0.
Fuck you, that's why I believe.
Alright, well then I'm not taking the spell slot off.
Nope, you don't need to.
You know, I just realized I've been using the wrong buttons for saving throws. That's why my saves are so fucking abysmal. I was like,
sort that out.
Well, actually, no. I clicked on the characteristics and like the ability scores rather than the actual saves. Like the,
right.
I did
In
miss
your
the
player journal,
things.
you can mark the ring quest as complete. Tomorrow, you will get a replica ring that's gonna open you a lot of doors around here, and you made friends with the local vampire.
Yep.
Well, you say friends.
I mean, he is gonna tell me everything.
In the side quest, you can add a new side quest for yourself when it's a time quest, so you literally cannot do it right now. Participate in the Blood Room Brawl. There you go.
Hey! What? Twice?
He's got the next.